to the Professional Lovers channel. I'm Al.
I'm Patty,
and we are the Professional Lovers.
Well, we had a bombshell tonight, but before we get started, for those of you who are new, welcome. We have been married for 29 years, and we enjoy facilitating relationships by sharing our own experiences and talking about the issues that the couples on Married at First Sight encounter as they build their relationship. If you're a regular, hey, welcome back. And you know that we want you to subscribe, we want you to like, we want you to share, and we want you to leave some comments in the comment section. And like I said, tonight we had the bombshell. We started out with the bombshell. So we're going to start out our recap with the bombshell. That Dom decided
she was done. She wanted a divorce.
I'm just over it.
It. What is it?
Pastor Cal was like, we need to be more specific. Over the discussion, over the what you over.
Yeah.
Well, she decided she wanted a divorce.
Yeah.
She felt like, she didn't need the negativity in her life. And, that she was done. And he was disappointed.
Very much so.
Felt embarrassed. Because she wasn't willing to give
the effort a marriage deserves.
Right.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And then when she met with her mom, because through the show, I always like to summarize what happens at the show. Different people met with friends, and then they had their housewarming party.
Right.
So she met with her mom, who expressed disappointment for, she thought she was going to be able to come to a housewarming party and get to, know Mackinley a little better.
She even wished that she was aware of where they stood and how Dom felt, because she almost felt like she could have maybe been an influence in how to relate to whatever it was that Dom was going through, to not give this marriage,
a chance.
A chance.
Yeah. And every time Mom began to question Dom about what she might have been able to do differently, Dom shut her down. And talking to her mom, there was nothing that she could have done differently. No. She was very patient, in her mind. She feels like it was a relationship she didn't need to be in. Yeah. So, so that's where they stood. She took her stuff. I couldn't figure out why she was crying as she was walking down the hall, if this is what she wanted.
Because she knows that she didn't give it a chance. But to be in the land of indecision it's painful. It's painful because you're fighting yourself.
Yeah.
And literally and I'm going to call it what I feel it is. As a youngster, girlfriend's 25 years old, to make a decision like that, especially in the manner of this scenario, whereas like you haven't spent years trying to find relationships, finding love with an attempt at relationships throughout. They call her an old soul because I think she's a wise young person. But when it comes down to relationships, that's seasoning. That's kind of like learning how to cook, and I mean, not to be euphemistic, but it's like knowing what ingredients work. And sometimes you got to burn something to see how hot fire can be, and you don't have to ruin everything you try, but you have to go through changes. I mean, a heart monitor has the purpose of going up and down just to let you know that you're alive. And when things don't go right, and I mean, they even hit on both of those situations. He felt he was compromising. She felt that he was what was negative
and complaining too much.
Hey, he's not
and
a person.
He felt belittled.
Yeah.
And she felt like she was trying to drag him along. But Pastor Cal alluded to what you said and asking her, was 25 too young? And she didn't think so. But she didn't think so if she were with the kind of man that she had in her head, which is someone who looked settled.
I don't even think it was...
She wanted somebody Because she said,
Well,
at
yeah.
34,
Oh, yeah, true.
I would expect him to be further along.
He is where he wanted to be. He could have been anywhere. He just happened to come to a new town with people that he know. They had space. He took the space.
That's not her perception
I understand
or
that.
expectation
But again, that's her
of a
lack
settled person.
That's her lack of understanding where
Yeah.
people can be, even when they do have a mature mind, knowing that you're in a space that you can be rent free, and you're already financially secure of where you want to be. So what's the purpose of finding a place, getting a lease, filling it with furniture, and so hey, she just didn't give it a chance.
Well, so that was Dom and Mackinley. Gina and Clint. Gina decided to move in.
Mm-hmm.
She decided to take Pastor Cal's advice, realizing that, if they're really going to work on something, they have to be in the same spot.
Exactly. To me, that's just the opposite of the first couple.
Yeah.
They're putting in an effort. And Clint is kind of saying things that make sense. Now, his delivery is a little sharp at times.
Yeah.
But he makes sense.
Yeah. And he agreed to sleep in separate rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And to take it one step at a time. And she was expressing concern about incorporating someone into her routine. But I was like, but that's marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've lived by yourself for a long time and you have your routine. But if you're going to be married, then it means you establish a new routine.
It's an adjustment.
You have to incorporate the other person into a new routine.
Into your life.
That's being married. So, but he talked to a friend who's married, has children, and he, the friend's asking, how things go, how was the honeymoon, whatever. He talked about their lack of physical attraction, and the guy was like, that happens a lot, but for the average person, you had the time, mm-hmm. and you have the relaxed atmosphere for that to grow. Which they don't really have. Right. They have a lot of pressure. Yeah. True. But, and then when they had their housewarming, mm-hmm. it was all women. He mm-hmm. had 2 friends come over. She had 2 friends come over. And of course, as happens in past season, each other's friends talk to the other person. Yeah. Just to, give them a chance to ask questions.
Now that things are settled down.
Right.
The honeymoon is over. Where are y'all at?
And his friends told Gina to don't focus on the negative.
Yeah. And
her friends told Clint to plant seeds that can mm-hmm. grow into attraction. Yeah. And Gina's one friend who she met with beforehand, wasn't that the kind of the blonde girl?
Of the 2 that Clint,
or am I thinking about somebody else?
I don't know.
No, I'm thinking about Nicole.
You're talking about Nicole.
I'm talking about Nicole's friend. No. Yeah. So, and I think Gina liked the fact that Clint could hold his own with mm-hmm. all the women. He was being very gentlemanly.
Especially since she's going to have other women around her, since she's a salon owner.
Right, right. So, there was some hope there. Mm-hmm. There was some hope there.
And I like the fact that they did show a clip where they were sailing together.
Yeah.
So something to look forward to.
Jasmine and Eris. He's starting to work my nerves a little bit.
Eris is gonna blow a thing. I think he's already got one foot on the slope.
Yeah. So he met with his cousin, who has a lot to say against what he's doing, not supportive at all. And she sounded like she was saying some good things, as in, she asked him, do you want to be married? Well, if you want to be married, then be a husband and have sex with your wife. And if you don't want to be married, then get out and stop wasting your time. Yeah. Not stop wasting her time. Yeah. Stop wasting your time. So she's completely centered on him.
Oh, and always has been.
And I'm glad that Jasmine said, I don't want her at the housewarming party. Now, she didn't accept, because she's like, this ain't real. And that's how she's looking at everything. Like, this ain't real.
Yeah.
So I'm not wasting my time to come.
Because
but Jasmine was okay with that because Jasmine didn't want her there in the first place.
True.
And why she thinks that Jasmine's ability to be tactful is fake. I don't understand that.
Yeah. I mean, she may have had a little bit more polishing in her upbringing where, you just don't blow things off, or you don't have to be disrespectful, you talk, whatever.
Yeah. And that's important because when the friends came over, well, her aunt and sister came over, and he had 2 guy friends who came over, and they talked about the cousin, and Jasmine said, she disrespected me. When we had a one-on-one conversation before, after the marriage, I felt like she disrespected me. And his friends asked him, well, how did that make you feel? And, he knows his cousin shoots off at the mouth, and she doesn't support any of this at all. But the aunt says, but she's your wife.
Exactly.
And you have to make sure that she feels comfortable. Which brings us to the book.
Yay.
Becoming a Professional Lover. There is a tip in here that says loyalty is to one's marriage and family, as in the family you create with your marriage, not your blood relatives, your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your cousins. Okay?
Just for y'all, we didn't rehearse that, but we said it together.
We do that a lot.
Yeah.
But the reality is that once you're married, your loyalty is to your spouse.
Always.
And if there are issues, that you're having with your spouse, it's not great to run to your family members and share with them all the issues that you have with your spouse.
It's not public.
Or best friends or whoever. Now, yes, we need people to talk to.
Express, yeah. You need a sounding board.
But every time you have an issue, to run to your family to talk about it is not wise. True. Because when you and your spouse work it out and resolve it, your family is still left with negative feelings about your spouse. True. Because of what you've told them.
Exactly.
And so, if your family is bringing something to your attention that they think is a red flag or questionable, then you talk to your spouse about that. Your family doesn't talk to your spouse about that.
Yeah, really.
And you talk to your spouse about it with prayerful wisdom.
Yeah. Objectivity, open-minded, and with a desire to resolve whatever the issues are. It's not something that you keep harping on and not to say that you're going to find an immediate answer to it, but you find a way to move forward through it.
And it's really about, too, how you talk to other people about your spouse.
True.
It's not about bad-mouthing your spouse. It's about, here is a situation that I find myself in. What can I do? What are the things that I can do?
How I'm feeling.
Right, to better my situation. It's not about what can I do to make him change or her change. Yeah, so it's really, you want some advice, you ask advice about yourself.
True.
In the situation. So anyway,
and it's because that's all you can fix. You can only fix yourself.
Right. So, Auntie and sister took him into the room, and asked, how he felt about sharing his space with her. Auntie asked, if she was willing to give up her dogs. He'd be like, yeehaw.
Yeah, my man went to another plateau.
He would be very excited for her to give up her dogs.
And she was kind of surprised at the response and how readily he was willing to, be happy about that.
And she asked him, are you willing to make the effort? And he was like, well, I'm going to try. And that was not the right answer for her, because she looked at him like, trying is not really making an effort. That did not make her feel comfortable. His friends talking to Jasmine, asked, what did they struggle with? And she said communication was a big thing that they struggled with. And she told them, they don't have any sexual chemistry.
Which they kind of twisted their dog ears and like,
Yeah.
knowing, because she said that, which is what Ara said. He's a very sexual person.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine being close to him, they know about some of his exploits or whatever the case may be. And I'm sure that they look at her wondering what's wrong with that.
Yeah. And yet, they asked her, did she feel like the experts picked right? And she said yes. That she feels like they could be a good match.
Yeah.
They just have to get over this little lack of physical chemistry issue.
She's committed to the process.
Yeah. And I'm not sure that he is.
I still think he's got a fear factor in him because he's never been in a relationship and not understanding. I mean, he's in uncharted waters, where a relationship is going through the process of whatever ups and downs are. And we look at the positive side and we move past whatever it is that we're dealing with and find the positive out of it and move forward and grow from it.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's Jasmine and Eris. Nicole and Chris are still moving along forward. She met with a friend. And she was one of the friends that came over to the housewarming as well. And just gushed about Chris and how he is and everything that he has been that she
always
has wanted, right, but wouldn't allow herself to enjoy. But now, because not being committed, and this is with a lot of people, if you're not committed, then it's easy to run.
Yeah.
And so she would take off before anything got going with other guys who exhibited some of the same qualities that Chris exhibits. But because she's committed, then, she's discovering that
these are qualities.
These qualities aren't so bad.
She enjoys them.
Right. And she's worried that, she could blow it.
Yeah. I mean, she has an internal fight within herself because she's being treated in a manner that she's not accustomed to being treated.
Exactly. And that came out in the discussion during the housewarming.
Yeah.
Where she feels like he's appeasing her a lot of times just to make her happy.
Yeah.
That he says okay just to make her happy, and that bothers her.
Yeah. Because, and I don't know if it's a male-female thing, but when guys in most cases say that it's okay, it's not because we're just trying to blow you off, okay, do whatever you feel like doing, or we're, going against our own, desires because we want it done a certain way or whatever the case may be. We may not necessarily be bothered by however you choose to do it.
Because I was telling him that he's kind of the same way. And if it's not a big deal, then it's like, we can do it your way because it's not a big deal. Exactly. And I believe you, if it's a big deal, there's going to be discussion.
Or there's going to be backlash somewhere along the line.
Or he's going to be, determined to do it his way. I mean, but he's got the same kind of laid back vibe that Chris gives, which is if it's not really a big deal, like those shirts she picked out.
Happen. Yeah.
And he was like,
willing.
If you want me to wear it, I'll wear it. Really? And she's like, no, if I'm not here, what's your decision? He's like, well, I would not have picked that out for myself.
Which is honest.
Which is cool. And she was like, okay, that's good. If you wanted to go with
the theme and you put in the effort and energy of putting all of this planning together, if you want us to wear the shirts, okay. And it just so happens that the shirt that he wore was, a topic of discussion that brought about the discussion of that particular item, about the appeasement. And they were looking at the shirts like, oh, that'd be a bit much. And it would have been. So yeah, he indicated that it wouldn't be my choice. But if it makes a difference for you, I'll do it.
Now, what I thought was cool is when Chris was talking to her friends, and he said that I think that my trying to make her happy gets on her nerves because she kind of sees it as me just trying to he didn't say appease. That she's not used to being treated that way.
Right. And she's not.
And she says that.
And she's looking at it as the part of what she knows about his past of being run over.
Right.
And she feels like she's maybe being the truck that runs him over. But he's not necessarily that way. He just, in so far, the situations in which they've come across, it's not a big deal.
And her friend said, well, you don't look like a fighter. And he doesn't come across as a fighter. But he has assured her,
yeah,
I have a backbone now. I will not let you run me over.
Yeah.
So I know how to speak up for myself. And just because he does it in a kind way, or, he's not ruffled by her large, super large, loud personality, then she doesn't have to worry. And so she just needs to relax.
Yeah. And sometimes, and there is something to that statement of kindness being thought of or looked upon as a weakness.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean that at all.
No.
No.
So let's see. Kirsten and Shaq. So they had their little housewarming party, and his cousin and her husband, and her friend and her husband came, and
that was great.
Yeah, they purposefully invited
they chose
married
people
couples
who understood what their relationship or where they want to take their relationship.
Right, and that was very smart.
Yeah, it was exceptional. And both couples pulled out of each individual an understanding of what it takes to move forward to where you want to be in a marriage. And one wife indicated to Shaq that what you're moving toward and the effort that you're putting into it is not just to get through these 8 weeks.
Right.
You're putting it in for a lifetime.
The end goal is not the 8 weeks.
Exactly.
The end goal is a lifetime.
Yeah.
And we talked about that last week. That each of these couples who come through this experiment come in it thinking 8 weeks and not thinking married for life. Yeah. And so it was great to have another couple confirm that. Yeah.
But just to have those, I mean, it was sage. I mean, for both couples. And just that scenario of married couples to come and give their wisdom, their experience, their understanding of what a true relationship is. And it was a situation where one couple knew each other for a while before they got married, and it was
It's platonic. Not just that. They knew when they first were together, they were not physically attracted to each other.
Right. Yeah.
And they weren't attracted to each other for the first year that they were together.
Yeah.
And he was sharing that with Kirsten, because physical attractiveness has kind of been at the heart of their issue as well. And he was like, been there, done that. But when you start noticing the beauty of the person's character and their personality and what they bring to the table, then that starts to grow. And so I think it was, confirmation to her that you don't have to start out with physical attraction, and for him, he was wondering, is he being
too patient?
Right. Is he being too patient with Kirsten? He doesn't know when he should push, when he should step back. And, and so they basically were saying, that you just need to, I don't know, just kind of pull it out of her kind of a thing.
Well, I'm trying to think of what the terminology was, but it was to the effect of be a man, be yourself. And
they said let the chemistry build through intention.
Be intentional.
Yes, be intentional with what he does with her. So I thought that was really, again, they were smart to do that. So the episode ended with a couple's potluck where all the couples came together to find out what's going on. And we found out that Chris and Nicole have consummated their marriage. No one else has. But the big thing was Mackinley sharing that. Now, he started out by saying we made the decision, which I thought was kind of nice because he wasn't trying to throw her under the bus.
And there's been certain little hints dropped here and there, little sayings, thinking that behind the scenes a whole nother relationship is going on. I don't see it, but he was being diplomatic in how he was presenting the fact that we've decided that we're divorcing.
Yeah. Now, none of the couples accepted it.
Yeah.
Clint was like, after saying that, with Gina moving in, and he really wants to get to know her from the 5-year-old Gina to, the, what do you say, the crusty?
Yeah, the crusty 35.
Yeah.
But now, I don't know if you all saw the show, but I was looking at Gina's eyes when he said that he wanted to know about her from being the 5-year-old Gina to the 35-year-old Gina. And actually, Nicole responded to it. She said, I know that sounded a little kind of crazy, but that was the most romantic thing that I've heard you say.
Yeah.
And truly it was. That was him, again, in his little terse way of, expressing his feelings. He was genuine in just saying, I'm in this, whoever it is that I am, I'm in this to see where it's going to go.
And so he was the one that told Dom that, divorcing was the easy way.
Yeah, quitting is easy.
Quitting is easy. Yeah. Throwing the towel is easy.
Yeah.
And so, they were all kind of saying, is this really what you should do? Don't you think you should give it some time? Blah, 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 blah. And when she said, maybe.
Harris like, jumped up and said, here's to maybe. That was comical. That was truly comical, but it was genuine. I mean, it was like they were all in this together. So their support for one another is truly genuine.
It is. It is.
And it's truly unfortunate that, and again, this is the
25 versus the 34.
She said maybe because of peer pressure.
Right.
And
McKinley, dug it out of her.
Yeah.
And when they went back up to the apartment and she's like, so what do we do now? And he was like, what do you mean? What was the maybe? Why did you say that? Did you say that because of peer pressure? Yes, I did. I just felt like, everybody was like, on me and I was the bad guy and I was feeling bad. And, so she's like, where do we go from here? And he was like, well, where do you want to go? She said, well, we can be friends. No, I don't need another friend. I wasn't in this to be a friend.
I don't want to be your friend.
So, and I can understand that. But again, it goes back to the difference between 25 and 35 and knowing what it takes to build a committed relationship. And she wasn't committed because she didn't sign up for this.
True.
Mama signed her up for this. Yeah. So she didn't feel any commitment.
And I really think, in thinking about it, as a 25-year-old, this was an experiment. Okay? And after 2 weeks, you would give...
That ain't no time.
You would give an earthworm more than 2 weeks to live.
Because one of those weeks was spent on the honeymoon.
Exactly.
You've only had one week. And you didn't even move in.
Yeah.
So there was no time. But, it is what it is. And I'm glad that he basically,
stuck to his guns.
And didn't let it, didn't
allow the emotion
of the other couples cloud judgment, his better judgment. And so they're done. Yeah. And so for that reason, they are our red flag couple. No, they're my red flag couple.
Well, they're no longer a couple, so...
Right, because they're done.
Yeah.
So, you have another red flag couple?
Yeah, Aris and
Jasmine.
There's an internal sabotage going on, and it's unfortunate. It's truly unfortunate. Mm-hmm. So,
couple of the week.
I'd go with Shaq and Kirsten, only because of what they did for their housewarming party.
Okay.
You know, I like what they did and how they went about doing and what they got out of it regarding the advice and the direction to go in and putting forth the effort to make this relationship thrive. I like
and my couple of the week, Clint and Gina.
that. Okay.
Because
Okay.
of her
willingness
decision
yeah.
to move in.
Yeah. To not, yeah.
Yeah, to instead of taking a step towards separation, taking a step toward being committed.
Right.
And giving it time and being in each other's presence and seeing how they grow.
And everything that
way.
The camera showed, she indicated that she enjoyed that time.
And everything that he has said
has been positive.
to help her feel more secure about his commitment to the process.
Yeah.
So, surprise, surprise, Clint and Gina, my couple of the week. Let us know who your couple of the week or your red flag couple is and why. And then we will get prepared for what's coming down the pike next week because, again, it looks a little scary.
Yeah, I think they gave you half of somebody's thought.
Yeah. So.
What if I said no? What if I said yes? I think if that part, the no, gives more drama.
Yeah, so we'll see. But until then, we want you to love yourself.
And each other.
Bye.